You know what's freaking crazy about a breakup? Once all of the heavy emotions and shock and pain go away and you're at a place of acceptance, now all of a sudden you can see the relationship from a place of logic. And what I'm realizing is my 12-month relationship that I thought was a reciprocal, mutual relationship where we loved each other and we wanted to spend time together and like share our lives was in reality a one-sided relationship where I thought it was that and he really wasn't that interested. Like he didn't love me, A, and B, he didn't even really like me. He didn't want to meld our lives together. He didn't even really want to spend time with me. And the entire time that we were together, he was pursuing other options. And I mean, I knew that the signs were there of like betrayal and him wiling and doing things behind my back. But when I was in like the fog of like deep emotions, all I could feel was the pain of betrayal. And now that I look back on it, I'm realizing the betrayal and those shady actions were just part of a bigger problem or like the underlying problem, which is that he didn't really like me and he wasn't as committed to me as I was to him. And I really have to be honest with myself and ask, like, why did I not see that? Because, yeah, he was saying one thing, but his actions were very clearly showing another thing. And yet I could not see the truth. So, like, is there a part of me that can't accept that somebody wouldn't be into me? Like, I'm in shock and can't imagine that somebody, especially like to just be totally honest, like I lowered my standards to date him. So it's kind of like the whole time I'm thinking like, oh, I've got this in the bag. Like he's so lucky to be with me. When in reality, I was the one that was like totally in it and like had all these feelings and he actually never shared those feelings. Like some examples that I just should have seen, like just one night I woke up at like 3 in the morning and he was on his cell phone, like texting somebody. And, oh, I asked him, I was like, I woke up and I was triggered and I'm like, who are you texting? And he's like, oh, I'm writing a song. Totally believed it. I mean, like blatant commenting on other women's social media. Like he created an entire post on social media dedicated to another woman, like another musician in his field, but like just going on and on about how amazing she is. And this is while he had a girlfriend. He went on a business trip to the Midwest and literally met up with an old high school friend and like posted it like, oh, we're hanging out, like took her out, like they went on a date. It was like an evening date. And here I am with him, like trying to be the cool girl and like never for a second thinking that he didn't care about me as much as I cared about him. Like just trying to be like, oh, he's just friends with them. Like he's probably just writing a song at 3 a.m. Like it's fine. Like it's just looking back now, I'm like, girl, you had it all in front of your face that he, A, was like being sketchy and B, didn't care about you, like wasn't into it. I stumbled upon some emails last night looking for something, not from him, but like I don't know why it came up. And I saw the email that he sent to me when he broke up with me for the final time. Yes, he broke up with me via email. And he was going on and giving me all these reasons as to why he was breaking up with me. And one of his reasons was I'm going to be traveling a lot for work all through the summer. So there's just no way we would make it. And it was like for the first time in my life, I finally saw what was happening. Like he had been like dating other women and like pursuing other women in the last few months we were together. He was trying to like fill my spot. And this last email was just like an obligatory last thing on his checklist to do to break up with me. Like that's what it read like. It was like, we're not going to work for this reason, this reason, this reason. And then also I'm going to be traveling all through the summer. And like one of his MOs is when he's first dating a woman, he will take her on a trip. And he did that with me, like within the first month we were together, he took me on a trip and he's been traveling a lot for work. So for him, I'm sure he had another woman lined up to take her on a trip, to take her on his summer travels because he could take her along on a work trip and like call it like a vacation. And I just could see through the lines on that email of like, he was letting me go so he could now take his new girlfriend on a trip. And it's like, why I did not see that in the email. Like in the last 6 months, I've been so underwater in all of my emotions that I could not see the writing on the wall. I also think too, like just beyond big, aggressions like that, there were a lot of microaggressions in the relationship that should have showed me he wasn't into me. Like anytime that we weren't together, he didn't really keep in contact with me. And I would complain to him, like, why don't you want to know about my life? Like, why do you let like hours and hours go by without talking to me? Why can you go a whole evening without calling me and saying goodnight? And like, don't you want to know about my life? And he would always be like, well, you're just needy and you just need constant communication. But in reality, like, he wasn't interested in me. He wasn't interested in my life. And he was probably spending his time pursuing other things and getting attention from other women. So why I did not see that, like anytime he was like alone and we weren't together for custody reasons or whatever, and he was going to go do something, he would like invite me. Like he would be like, I mean, you're totally welcome to come. Like he would throw out the obligatory invite, but he never made an effort to like really invite me or really make me feel wanted or try to meld his life with mine. Like that never happened. And I just like told myself like, oh, like be the cool girl, like don't be so needy. He has his life, you have yours. But like if you're with a person, and your partner should want to be with you all the time. Like they should want to like meld lives with you. And it was like he just had no interest in that. And it's funny now, like I don't know why it took me 6 months of like, working through all the heavy emotions to now see logic. But that was the logic. Like, it's just so funny how we get so stuck in our feelings and we project onto our partners what we want them to do for us, like what we ideally think a relationship should be. And we kind of delude ourselves in a relationship. And it's like we need to look at the evidence and like look at it from a place of like level-headedness and tell ourselves the truth. But I totally relate with how hard that is to do when you're in the moment and you're in the emotion, because something's going on chemically. Like I want to say it's from having intimacy. It's from being in an intimate relationship with a man as a woman that will mess with your mind. Like that will mess with your logic. And I can see why people now are saying things like, hold back for a little while with a man until you really know that he's into you, and like then start to like let those hormones be released in your body and like then get attached to him from intimacy, because when you do it too early, it will cloud your mind and you cannot see what is really happening. I mean, I couldn't even see down to the point that this man was not interested in having a relationship. He could not be committed to me. He needed attention from other women, and he didn't even like me. He didn't even like spending time with me. Like it clouded my judgment so much that I couldn't even see those basic facts.